Hi guys, it's me Courtney again. I would just like to have a chat about how I can hide my pregnancy at work in the first 3 months. So I'm planning on keeping my pregnancy a secret from work colleagues until the 12, maybe 13 week mark here. I haven't written down a script or anything for this video, so it might be a little bit all over the place. I don't have any notes or anything. I just wanted to sit down and have a chat basically because I'm concerned about work colleagues finding out that I'm pregnant before I want them to. So I haven't mentioned before what I do. I am a flight attendant. There's a few things that are different about being a flight attendant that are in a regular job at an office or even retail or anything like that. It's very, very different for pretty obvious reasons. The first being that toilet breaks are not always possible. I can't just go to the toilet whenever I want. I'm worried about morning sickness in this respect. I'm worried about if I am getting morning sickness, I don't always have access to a bathroom. So there's many reasons for that. Number one, I could be in the middle of a service and I'm on the wrong side of the cart and we only have toilets at the rear of our aircraft, so that could be an issue there. I have no way of actually getting to the toilet physically. There's a physical barrier there. Another reason is the toilets are full or there's a lineup for the toilets. This also means that I can't use the toilet whenever I need to. Another reason is we could be taking off or landing. There's a big time frame of when you can't use the toilet, especially on landing, and I never really thought about it until I became a flight attendant. So from when you sit down in your seat for landing until in the air on the next flight, you possibly are waiting 45 minutes to an hour before you can use the toilet because there's a time restriction there. Not only do I have to be seated and harnessed for landing, I then have to go up the front and disarm my doors and then stand at the bottom of the stairs or at the top of the stairs, depending on what position I'm doing that day, and say goodbye to the passengers, and then I need to cross the seatbelts and welcome on board the new passengers, do my PAs, my safety demo, and then I need to be sat and harnessed for takeoff. So that leaves a long period of time where if I'm not prepared and I don't use the bathroom because of those other barriers that I was telling you about before, I might not be able to use the toilet for a long time. So I'm very concerned about that, not just for morning sickness, but also frequent urination. I'm very concerned that even if the toilet is available and I'm able to use it as much as I want to, people are going to notice that I am going to the toilet a lot, which is something that would happen to anyone in any job. I heard a horror story about, not really a horror story, but a story about one of our flight attendants in Perth who was pregnant and she got pretty bad morning sickness and she just couldn't get through the safety demo in early mornings especially. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and you're sick because you're pregnant, you haven't eaten or whatever, and she just couldn't get through the safety demo. She would have to keep running to the bathroom and throwing up until she could get it through, which could potentially delay the flight. I'm also concerned about morning sickness being aggravated due to flying and the change of cabin pressure and turbulence and things like that. I could just see morning sickness not being very fun during those times. Also, another thing which doesn't seem like a huge deal, but having very random shifts, meaning sometimes I start really early at like 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes I start late and don't finish till 1 o'clock in the morning. I drink a lot of coffee. Well, I did before I got pregnant, and I was known for that at work. I was the girl who drank 8 cups of coffee a day and overdid it, and everyone was going, how many cups of coffee is that? I have completely cut caffeine out of my diet since the beginning of my 2-week wait, basically. So I haven't had any caffeine for quite a while, and I'm very concerned that people are going to notice that. So I'm not too sure what I'm going to do about that one. So I know that I'm thinking, I'm a worrier. I always think, what if this, what if that, what if this happens? None of this, I could not have any of these issues. I could just have a breezy time and not have to worry about morning sickness, but these are just the things that I want to be prepared for because I definitely don't want people at work finding out that I am pregnant until I'm 12, 13 weeks at the safe point. Another issue for work is drinking. Everyone at work likes to go out and have a few drinks, and there's always some kind of get together or party going on. And I'm usually the person who gets too drunk too quickly and I make a mess of myself. I think they're going to be pretty suspicious if I'm all of a sudden turning down the alcohol and saying, no, I can't drink. And there's only so many times you can use the I'm on antibiotics rule or I don't feel well rule before everyone's going to get suspicious. Maybe the best thing to do there is just turn down the invite altogether and just say I can't make it, I've got things to do. I'm not too concerned about my baby bump showing because I think it's going to be quite a while before I get a baby bump anyway, and my uniform fits me quite loosely, so I'm not too concerned about that. I don't think that's going to be an issue until after the time I tell people anyway, but you never know, we'll see. Another thing that I'm concerned about is getting up really early. So if I have a 4 or 5 o'clock sign on and I'm getting out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, the last thing I want to do at 3 o'clock in the morning is make breakfast and eat it, because let's face it, it's too early, and by the time it hits 7 o'clock, I'm going to be starving for lunch, and it's only 7 o'clock in the morning. Not only is it going to be an issue trying to eat breakfast at 3 o'clock in the morning, but we don't get given a crew meal. So we don't get given food to eat. So we have to bring our own food, and there's obviously no refrigerator, and there's space restrictions as to how much you can bring in a lunchbox for a 13 or 14 hour duty. Another issue with food is getting time to eat. So I'm not too sure how much you guys know about being a flight attendant, but we do not get lunch breaks. If it's a full-on flight and there's a lot of passengers and it's a full-on service, you might not get time to eat at all. I do domestic flights, so they're quite short flights anyway. So our longest flight is to Darwin, and it is 2.5 to 3 hours. That's a full-on flight, and you barely get time to sit down as it is. So you're running around doing drink service and food service, and any time that you do get to sit down, you generally have to choose between going to the toilet or eating, because you don't have time to do both, because then there's call bells and rubbish collections to do, and there's always something going on. And I get hangry when I am hungry. So I've always had that issue anyway, but it's been a lot worse since I've become pregnant, because I'm just hungry all the time. And I feel really ill when I'm hungry. So that's something that I'm concerned about, having to choose between whether I need to go to the bathroom, whether I should eat. A lot of the times I just eat very quickly in between call bells, and I'll just shove food into my face. I'm usually chewing by the time the next call bell happens, and it's pretty hectic. Anyway guys, I'd love to hear your stories as to how you hid your pregnancy from your work colleagues in the first few months of pregnancy. If you have any ideas whatsoever, if you are a flight attendant yourself, or you have a friend that was a pregnant flight attendant, let me know, because I would love some advice. If you would like to follow our journey, just subscribe below, and I would love to hear your stories. I can't wait to read them in the comments, and I will talk to you later. Bye.